All right.
Hello, Vibe Tribe.
Mhm.
We have some exciting new things coming up. So tonight, I think we should start with telling our story of how we started with Mark.
Yeah, I think so too.
Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
And we'll get into what we are going to be launching
Yeah.
from here on out.
Well, as many of you know this story, but for those of you who don't,
There's got some fairly new
yeah, we
people here.
do. We do. I'll stick it on speaker. I don't know how it records. When we learned about Healy, it was back in September, October of 2020, and that's when we got started. And it had come to United States in May. And so there was really no one around here that knew anything about it. And we barely knew, we didn't know anything about it other than Devin told you, and then you told me, and it was like, boop, boop, boop. We just all got on board. And then Devin didn't, she got tied up with other things going on, and Mark had sponsored her from Australia. And so Mark was doing these weekly calls, and we were like in wanting to learn everything we could about it, but the back office back then was, really non-existent. And it was really trying times back then. And so we were on a call with Mark for, God, I want to say like a year and a half.
At least, what do you think, Mark? At least a year, maybe a year and a half.
Let's say about that. It's a blur. The last couple of years are a blur.
It was an amazing time though, but it ended up being the three of us a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so we would just ask Mark all the questions that we had, and Mark would give us an update on what was going on with the company, because they didn't have things like What's Up Wednesday back then. They didn't have Tip Tuesday back then. So they didn't even have a corporate.
They didn't have American corporate.
They didn't have American corporate back then.
Yeah. Oh, Devin's coming on.
Oh, Devin.
Yeah.
So these calls were our lifeline to learn anything really about Healy. And so we were always there. And that is how our business grew, because we were learning every single week consistently, and then implementing what we learned, and watching videos, anything that came out. If we had questions about something specific and Mark couldn't answer it, he would find the information and send it to us. And so this is how it started.
Yeah.
And when we started, our businesses started to grow, we decided that we wanted to have our own call, and the Vibe Tribe was born. And since then, we have grown to, although our call tonight, we have just a couple of people on here. I think at the most we've had probably 30 people on a call. And then in our group, over, I don't know, 50, 100 people.
Yeah, 100 people.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's growing. Not all of these people are actively doing the business. Some of them just bought a Healy and, want to tap into the community aspect of it, which is great. However, Kristen and I have always been here to build a business, a heart-centered business where we can help people. And we've been grinding for the past 2 years, trying to offer as much information and do as many things for our tribe as possible. And it's just gotten to a point where we need to be supported again. And so Mark has a wide network that he calls True Resonance. I guess that's what the name of the calls are. And so we thought that it would be beneficial to everyone, the Vibe Tribe, and to Kristen and myself, to merge these two forces. And so every week now, and I'm going to let Mark tell his story and also explain the layout, because these will be consistent layouts. Every single week we've kind of been trying to figure out like how we can best serve and spotlight people, and we want it to be more consistent. And we did the solstice sync up, and we did those calls, and so we've put a lot of energy and time into into these calls and trying to provide as much information as possible. And so now we're just going to the next step of evolution with our businesses and for you guys. And so that's why we're going to be merging these calls, and we're going to have one Vibe Tribe call that's just us connecting or whatever. We're going to ask you guys, what is it that you want to hear about? What do you need? Is it just, do you guys just want to connect with one another? Does, more of like a community feel? But Healy needs to be at the center of these calls, because that's what brought us all together. That's why we're here. And that's what we want. We want to grow this business so we can help as many people as possible and grow the Vibe Tribe and just build community.
Yeah. And inspire people and hear testimonials and hear where some of our challenges are with using Healy, so that we can learn and hear how different people are using it, where we can inspire other people, but also just where are your blocks, what's happening with you, so that we can then learn and support each other, so that we don't want to just throw Healy in a drawer somewhere, which sometimes we want to throw it across the room, and sometimes we just want to just not play with it anymore. And so we want to, nurture all those different aspects that come up when you have a relationship with Healy, as well as our community, just build each other up and support each other wherever you are with it. So.
And I remember, Mark, we're going to introduce you again, but I remember in the very beginning, we were so frustrated, and Mark would always just hold the fort.
God, you were amazing.
He was just like, I understand it's frustrating, but we are pioneers of this thing.
I know.
And I was like, shut up,
Mark, just bitch about it
just
too.
bitch
Come
about
on.
it. But we always get off the call and be like, he's right,
yeah,
he's right.
I
and
know.
here we are because of it.
And, and I think we are who we are because of Mark, and his vibe is the same as ours. So this kind of merging is, I think, just going to be so beautiful and so expansive. It's not like we're going into these huge, big calls, but they're very personable, but it's just going to be really, really amazing. I think you guys are going to love it.
And Mark, I would like you to not only talk about your journey with Healy, but I would like you to talk about what you actually do, because I think, and your story with network marketing too, because you were very, very turned off to it. And I think a lot of people would like to hear that aspect of the story. So Mark.
Yeah. Come on, Mark.
Come on, Mark.
Hey.
There he is.
No, firstly, I mean, you guys have been amazing, and I'll get to the thank you for everything you guys have done part, but to start with, it was about 2.5 years ago when Healy first came into Australia, and it was a premature birth. It was not ready. They didn't have any corporate ready here either. Essentially, Taryn, who some of you might have seen in the different calls and meetings and things, she's actually from Australia and was over in Germany and had connections in Healy already with Time Waver or somewhere. I'm not sure what the exact story is. And she said, hey, I'm going to go back to Australia. Can I bring Healy back there? And they said, look, it's not quite ready yet, for Australia, but what you can do is just, when you do sell one, just sell it out of Singapore, and we'll get them to send it to you so you can get started. And they thought there was going to be maybe 20 Healys over a year period or something that they were talking about, and that it would take time to build this up. So I thought Tara can go ahead and just get things warmed up, and then it will eventually ground in. But when it landed in Australia, it started 2020 before the COVID madness hit. And it was unreal. It just took off like wildfire. And we were some of the early ones on board. And at that point, absolute anarchy started all over the world with COVID, with all that madness with government, with people with, belief systems and structures and everything collapsing under this pressure. And I remember when Adahia, who is my sponsor who brought me on, also an old friend of mine, we'd worked on a lot of projects with alternative technologies and different things like this, and together. So when she contacted me and told me, she's contacted me about network marketing things before, and I had my experience with network marketing, back back when I was probably early 20s, and I was in Norway, and it was one of the more traditional ones. And I remember I went to the big hype thing. They get you hyped up. They tell you to go through your phone book and don't worry about, people are going to give you a hard time, all this stuff. Just hit everyone. It's a numbers game. And it was that old school mentality. And I came out of that with a lot of shame. And I'd lost a lot of friends. And, you had just that sticky old school way that it ran. And after that, I had a lot of wounding around it. And I didn't want to touch it again. And it was sad because I saw the business model, and that's why I wanted to give it a shot, because I thought, oh, this can work. This can help liberate away from this centralized model that in economics that's always out there. And so I kind of pushed it away. But then when Ada here sent me this message, I thought, oh, another network marketing thing. And then I saw what the product was, and I clicked it and I looked into it, and I actually almost got angry. Because of the technology of the Healy, I'd been watching, with Scalar and different things for many, many years. And it was really upsetting in some ways for me, because I thought, I have to get this, I have to take part in this system. And so I had a lot of resistance. And then I realized, well, I want the device because I've seen this in visions, that it was going to be going this way. And that's where I committed to it, jumped in. And then once I started working with the Healy, and it was an amazing experience, straight off the bat, it was blowing my mind and doing what I thought it would do. And then I started calming my nervous system, being able to look at what's going on. And that's where I reframed my perception of network marketing. And I started realizing that the problem with network marketing is not the business model. It's the greed, that comes out in people when you're given power, when you're given freedom. Everyone says they want freedom. They want all their self-responsibility and these things. But when they get it, it's scary. It's pretty crazy, because you have to be responsible for how you lead, et cetera, et cetera. And so this led to then suddenly realizing where my passion was for this work, with network marketing, what I could contribute the most, because I realized that I want this to work. I want Healy to get out there, because beyond the money, beyond the business, like Marcus Schmiger says, if we have a Healy in everyone's hands, in every household, we're able to bring that fight and flight, and we're able to disarm that a little bit, so we can start actually connecting as humans to each other, actually be able to start having conversations that might, lead to the evolution of consciousness rather than another war. So that was kind of the driving force that got me to have to face network marketing and my own inner demons with it. And what I found was those yucky network marketing messages, those kinds of things always happened, whenever I was not confident, whenever I didn't trust in myself and what I was doing, and when I was doubting the systems, or when I was letting what people might have been saying bounce off me and into the work I was doing. So that was what then gave birth to True Resonance. So True Resonance is the love child of myself and, dear friend of mine, Jason Bart, who we've been, again, working with, like Ada here, together on alternative solutions for things for, about 10 years, I think, together. And jumped off many cliffs together, traveled a lot together, and had a lot of adventures. And the one thing that Jason and I have always shared was, the romance of life and the importance of people coming back to themselves to be able to express and be really human, to be really intimate in the sense of, turning up authentically and turning up in our greatness. That was something we really loved, is we see life as a story, as a fairy tale. And so we realized there was no corporate, there was no customer support. We had the Singapore head office shut down for like a month at one point, because their management just wasn't keeping up and they were screwing things up. We had people making orders, like $3,000 or 3,000 Australian dollar orders, a bit less than in US. And these devices were taking 3 months to get there, and there was no support to even send a ticket in to say, hey, where's my device? So people were feeling like they were scammed. This is where, if you Google, you'll see some not so nice stuff on Healy. It's from that time period. Look at the date on most of that stuff, and you'll see that it came from around the end of 2020, where Healy was kind of collapsing under its own success. It was growing so fast, but then COVID kicked. You couldn't have a face-to-face interview. You had to, do everything over Zoom and try to employ people over Zoom, especially customer support. That's challenging, right? So that was the kind of chaos that was going on. And some of the calls that were running were very network market style. Some were like this, some were like that. And so Jason and I realized that we needed something different for our people if we were going to do this together. And so we came up with the idea of true resonance, or we brought through the idea of true resonance, which was all about coming back to resonance with our authenticity within this work, with Healy, with how we bring it out and share to the world. And the name True Resonance actually comes from, has anyone seen the movie True Romance? Is any of you guys? No? So True Romance was Quentin Tarantino's first and possibly last romance script. It was his attempt at writing a romance script. And it goes down to this day as my favorite romance movie. Incredibly violent, lots of stuff. So if you're sensitive to that, I don't recommend it. But it's all about romance in the grittiness of life, right? That no matter how horrible, how intense your situation, how great your poor me story is, that romance lives within that space. And when I say romance, and when I talk about this romance, it's about the magic of life. It's about the intimacy of you with life, with you being able to let life in and respond to what comes, to be able to essentially make magic with life, right? And with each other and bring that kind of fairy tale. So it doesn't mean good or bad, it means magic. And so that's what, to me, true romance, true resonance was all about. It was, how do we hold a space of resonance, like a tuning fork, that can help when people need it, to be able to bring us into alignment, to stay connected to ourselves while doing this work with Healy, while getting it out in the world. And so Jason and I ended up spending, I think, for about 1.5 years, I'm not sure how long we did it for, but once a week we were doing these true resonance calls. And we were running customer support, we were running tech, we were running all these different things. America wasn't even open yet. Australia basically opened before America, which is unheard of in these kinds of businesses. Usually America goes first. And so we were having to do all of this for a long time. We had amazing people come through. Sometimes the calls were quite large. Sometimes they were very intimate and small. But what we noticed was that the magic was supporting us. That the idea of true resonance is that we would always trust the flow. Like, we would connect and we wouldn't try and mentally control everything, but we'd set a framework and then we'd connect each week, and then we'd allow that to kind of evolve from there. And that is what kept us going, is what kept a lot of our people going, because, so many would have dropped away, if they didn't have, something like that in the beginning. And what's been happening for the last 6 months for me personally is, Ashley, Kristen, when you started running the Vibe Tribe and running this call, that was such a heartwarming moment for me, where I got to come in and see all of your beautiful faces and see you guys creating magic and doing your own version of what we did, in that sense of really tuning into what was right, what you needed, what was, and exploring that. And that, between you guys taking that and, Jason stepped up and took lead on some other parts, and different people in my organization were kind of stepping in. So I've actually kind of retreated from everything for about 6 months. And the Vibe Tribe is one of the few places I'd still pop in, just because after 2 years of doing this work, I realized I was exhausted and had some trauma to sort out around the beginning of Healy as well. So I needed to really just let it go and come back home to myself, take care of the home base, reset, reconfigure. And it's been amazing. So I want to thank you guys, all of you as well, for turning up regularly, for creating this field, because it contributes towards a collective in such a big way, bigger than just our businesses each week. And for having a space that I could come and play. And so that's led to here, where, the timing has been beautiful, where I've been feeling that true resonance has been coming back. Not only the movie itself keeps on coming up in conversation around me, the concepts of what we were working on keeps on coming back, and I found my energy coming back. And so I started getting the excitement for it. So that's where I reached out, and with Ashley and Kristen, and the timing was perfect. And then I also reached out to Jason, and he was all on board and felt it was a fantastic time. So what we really were excited about doing is because we have a lot of people from the True Resonance Times who are from Australia, but all over the world. We've got people in America, we've got around Europe and all around the place. I would dare say that 95% of the people that started in 2020, early 2021 have gone into sleeper mode. And what we want to do now, because of all the craziness, and they actually have no idea of how much better things are now. So what we're really wanting to do is just restart the True Resonance fire and hold that. And so I'll take responsibility for making sure that every Friday or every Thursday night your time, it's Friday morning, 8 a.m. my time, we'll be having this call. And the way that we wanted to set it up is essentially what I found is having a structure is important for me particularly personally, not to mention for everything else, but to make sure that, like, I think you were saying, Ashley or Kristen, one of you, that it's important that these calls do have that essence of healing, which is the unifying point where we come to. Because otherwise what happens is you'll end up with a small crew who have an intimate sharing over one thing that you connect over, but then a lot of others won't feel like they fit in or won't know. So it's about finding that balance where you don't lose the intimacy, but you also make sure that those who come for the business, for the Healy and for the juice, but not for necessarily, not everyone wants to stay and have the other side of it, that we can make sure that they can get that. So what I wanted to do is essentially try and discipline myself to an hour call, because I think there's a magic to that. The container, as much as I will stay, as you guys know, like, Devin as well, when I jump on a call, I'm scared to jump on calls sometimes because I know it's hard to get off them. I love it so much being on them. So we're going to try and have an hour framework container for the magic. And in that, it starts with a Galactic Mind weather report. So we do a little spin just to see what the vibe is on the Galactic Mind level in that sense. It helps kind of give people some context to what's going on in their lives and make it not all businessy. We like to just kind of open after that and have like 5 minutes of saying, all right, any team wins, around Healy. So that could be you used a Healy program that really worked well for you, or you had a great week and you referred a bunch of Healys, and and just sharing things to be celebrated together. And that's just a nice bit where we get to hear from each other, and a bit of that's always inspiring, to help people realize there's a lot more to this. And then Healy news after that. So those things are like just little bits where we're just kind of connecting, getting a bit of energy in. And then the news will just be like 5-10 minutes, like, depending on how much news there is, but just to make sure that everyone's up to date, or, remind people. We won't be going into the hyper details of the news, but we'll say, for example, oh, look, there's a promo on in America, or there's a promo over here. Make sure you check your back office. So we'll be kind of giving the prompts to remind people, what's going on and where they can get more information. And then, so that's about 15 minutes of the call. And then the next 15 minutes will be focus and training. So the idea being, we have so many aspects of Healy available to us that I would put money on that the majority of people don't know 90% of it, right? They're just kind of overwhelmed by how amazing it is. They love a couple of programs or something that they kind of get comfortable with, and yet they've got this amazing device that they've invested in that can do so much more. So what I'm excited about doing, and this is kind of was my role for 2020, 2021, was a lot of like what Ken does with the Tech Tip Tuesdays, was, a lot of that, training and introduction to help people understand how to make the most of this. And so what I'm excited to do is like a little 15-minute segment, nothing too long, but just to focus on whatever is inspiring that week. So for example, today I'm running the natural cycles, and the natural cycles module from Nuno Nina is actually an incredible module for resetting your body clock. And I've had a really big challenge with that my whole life, because I've always been a night owl. And for the first time ever, after running this for a few weeks, this morning, I woke up already at 6 a.m. and I was just laying in bed kind of half asleep, whereas that would never be the case. And that's what I've noticed as I've been using this more and more. My body's naturally been shifting to want to get up earlier and go to bed earlier. So that's the kind of thing that I would then do a little 15-minute chat about, where I'd talk about, what the module does, where you can find more information and how to use it, just to kind of give a bit of inspiration so that it kind of gets people to explore the different avenues of what you've actually got in your hands. And then from there, we go into the last half hour is kind of a Q&A team sharing. So that's where we just go into, okay, where does everyone want to go for the rest of this call? And, might be people with, technical questions, might be, you might have business questions, compensation questions, or just sharing and you might, so the idea is to leave that half an hour part at the end to open to who turns up, what turns up in the space, and make sure that we've got that intimacy. So that's the general framework. And as for the groups, like they're not going to be massive, giant, big calls. Like I say, a lot of our original True Resonance crew have diluted down to like the crew here, the people that have the passion still, that are still, doing that. So in the beginning, we might just be, 10, 15 people in the call, sometimes 4 people, it's just kind of how it flows. And so then we'll just go with that and see how it goes from there and grow. So that's the general overview, and that I'm pretty excited about. So yeah, and the same time, Devin. And I was actually just watching a video about contemplating around creativity, and love him or hate him, it was by Jordan Peterson. And he does some amazing work on some of the deeper philosophical stuff that people get caught up in his in the mainstream stuff. And he was talking about creatives and being creative. And he was talking about the actual process of creativity, and he understands creativity is the giving birth of something. And he was talking about, if you go into creating something to be creative, knowing why you're doing it, then he says, then you're creating propaganda, because you've already decided what your art is. You've already decided what the outcome is. And in a sense is controlling the creative exploration. You're not going to be exploring with creativity. You're going to be defining with creativity, which leads to dogma, which leads to this thing. And it was a contemplation that really hit home yesterday, and I've been sitting with since. And that's something that I feel is important to embrace in the world right now with the kind of chaos that's going on. But also with doing this True Resonance, we're going in, I could give you all the reasons, logical reasons as to why we should do this. But the truth of it is, I don't know. And the truth is that I've felt True Resonance waking up in me. There's the essence of the calls we had and something going on there. I don't know where it's going. I don't know how it's going to evolve. And that's what's super exciting, is that when we go into this next round, we can tell you what we think it's going to look like, but in the end, it's going to be created all together. And, as we go forwards, and we'll give birth to something, and it's going to be exciting doing it together with a cross-pollination of what's been created here with all of you at the Vibe Tribe and all the other crews around the world. I'm pretty excited about it, as you can probably notice.
The bees are coming together. The cross.
It's funny you say that, because we had
know.
such a situation with bees
We
this
had a
morning.
lot of bees this morning.
A lot of bees this morning.
Yeah.
So for the people who jumped on the call later, just to recap, the Vibe Tribe calls are moving with just our group alone to once a month, where we are going to be reaching out to you guys and saying, what is it you guys want? Do we want more spotlights of the healers in our group like we did last week with Lisa? Do we just want to catch up and, connect, introduce some new people? But that's going to happen on the last Thursday of every month. And in the meantime, every single week at this time, Mark is now going to be leading the True Resonance calls, which I mean, it's really just going back to our roots, and it's full circle, and it's so incredible. And he's going to be bringing in some other team members, which is going to be super exciting, because they're all over the world, and like we can connect with people like us all over the world. Imagine for people who have clients and they connect here, you can grow your clientele, you can just make friends, you can just hear what people are doing from around the world. So it's very exciting, but it is the same time every single week. I guess, Mark, you'll be sending out a new Zoom link.
Yeah. And what I'll do is because we've got a separate Telegram group for the True Resonance crews, but we'll keep those separate, and everyone's welcome to jump around, but it'll be the same information. So I'll be posting those links into the Vibe Tribe and the True Resonance separately. So they'll both be there. So in a sense, we can meet in the middle. And if you guys want down the track, you can always join that group. But I'd say for simplicity, we've got one group that we can focus on there. But actually, I'll between now and next Friday, I'm going to be looking at the actual technical side of things to find out what's the best, most efficient way. Oh, and the recordings, I was talking to Jason about this. One of the hardest things for me is recordings, because once you get them, you have to wait for them to finish. They're processing, and then you have to upload them, which depending on your connection at the time can take quite a while. And then you need to share the link. And what I found was, a lot of the time, very few people actually watch those recordings. So it's either they're turning up or they mean to watch the recording but get distracted by life. I'm sure you've all experienced that lately. Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to do with the recording is record it directly to Zoom. And then that'll just be one recording each week, because it costs quite a bit to extend the storage. And we'll just have that recording available for 7 days. So the idea is, once the Zoom call is done, we'll be able to share that link into the replay link, and it'll be available for 7 days. And in the end, a lot of that information is only relevant for 7 days anyway, with a lot of what we're talking about. And the tech stuff that is awesome, people go, oh, I want the recording because that was great. It's usually like 3/4 in, and people just, I found, don't go back and look there. So that's how we're going to do the recording side.
Wonderful.
Keep it simple. And so we'll still have our Vibe Tribe Facebook group and Telegram group, and we'll still have our community and questions and, all the local things that we're doing. And it sounds like Mark's going to give us the link from True Resonance. So it's really pretty much the same, other than the fact that Mark's going to be taking lead on the calls each week, and we're showing up, except for the last Thursday, we're going to be doing our Vibe Tribe call. Does that make sense to everyone?
Cool.
Good.
And Kristen and I, and I think maybe Anna, you jumped on a couple. We did some bigger calls with like Sarah Blacka and Arihia and those girls. And they were kind of, there's 50, 60 people on the call sometimes. And I felt like the people leading the call, like they kind of singled out certain people on like their teams. And I was always thinking like, I want the Vibe Tribe represented here. And so now this is a way that we can all be represented kind of together with other teams. It'll just be, it'll be, for me, I love competition, and I love to be motivated by what other teams are doing out there. And so I just think that this will be a really great way for us to evolve into the next level of our businesses. Kristen and I can kind of take a bit of a step back as far as leading the call, so we can grow our business. And I think we think that this is the best way, and we know it's the best way because it's so synchronistic how it all went down. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was really just so easy, and it's just completely a full circle, beautiful situation that has just unfolded with ease and grace.
And we're under good hands because we've experienced Mark for a year and a half, and that's, we trickled down from him. So, it's such good synergy between all of us. It's like we're totally in good hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, Mark, I mean, I'm sure most people know that you you are an expert with the gene keys, but like, can you just kind of say the other things that you do? Because I think people will really connect to that part of you. Like, who is Mark?
Who is Mark?
Who is Mark?
Well, 41 years in, I'm still trying to work that out. But it's I joke around sometimes, say, look, usually I'm out, architect designing planets in other solar systems, and I just come for the revolutions. But it's so yeah, I mean, I work with human design, gene keys, been doing sessions, things like that for many years, have had the blessings of meeting amazing people from all around the world. And I think I've kind of realized, I used to think I was ADHD, and doctors would still say that I am, but I think it's more a case of I'm a polymath, that my mind works in many places at once, looking at the way things stitch together rather than the individual things. So I could sit for a long time and say, what my background is in that sense. But the short part of it is that, over the last 10 years, I've been working with human design very intensely in my own life. It helped me to really take self-responsibility for my own victim patterns, to take responsibility for how I deal with life and what turns up, and to move from reaction to response, so I can actually write my story. And that led to the Gene Keys work. So as the Mayan Dream Spell was the original that I found when I was in Cusco on a retreat in the Andes. And Aluna Joy introduced, Ashani introduced me to the Dream Spell. I found my signature, and that began my journey into really cracking open. And then human design led me to the Gene Keys. The Gene Keys I found was a lot more feminine, a lot more appropriate. In a way, human design is like the mechanics user manual. It's a little too analytical, and a lot of the time if used in the wrong way or not given proper context, can actually be disempowering to the people that are receiving the information. And so that's where the Gene Keys, I got to meet Richard Rudd and spend time with him, and the crews around the world, helping to build what the website and the publishing company and the online retreats are now today. So I was actually doing that in 2020 while all this was going down with COVID and Healy blowing up way too early. With all that going on, I was also given a job to onboard with Richard Rudd and the publishing team to help set up and organize the virtual retreat. So we ran a virtual retreat with 2,800 people, middle of 2020, for 3 months, and then another 6-month one after that, with over 30 hosts, where I had to then train people that were not techie with all the, Zoom breakout calls, how to operate while also keeping values and all, right? And so it was full on, having to be in a sense, project manager and trainer for the virtual retreats and help build them. Now they're stable and there's a great team I was working with, not on my own. And now they're running beautifully and cranking out there. And I had that. Healy, we were running the emergency for that as well, and also just the general madness in the world. So that's kind of brought it all up, and I got to use my skills. I got to use human design, Gene Keys, actually put it all to practice, came out the other end thriving, and the Healy was one of the greatest assets. And so that's kind of become part of my arsenal now is, if people want to step up and wake up, in the end, I often say, when it comes to my background, my work and my purpose of what I'm here to do, I summarize it sometimes a little bit romantically, saying, I don't care what you do in life. I'm not here to judge you're right or wrong, or, how you're going to behave. My main passion and concern is, are you the one deciding to do it? Because a lot of people are doing things that they're getting, that are bad, evil, crazy, and I'd often go to the extreme, and it's like, if you're going to, kill someone, then it's not for me to decide what's right or wrong about that. My mind can have a field day. But my question is, are you fully present? Are you fully feeling every sensation and piece of that moment when you're about to do it? Because if you are fully present, self-aware, and conscious, it's out of my hands. That's up to you and God now. Whereas, and usually my theory is that most people won't do it if they're fully present in their bodies and aware. So that's kind of my passion. What drives me is my interest with working with all of you and working with True Resonance, working with Healy. It doesn't matter what costume we put it under. Really what I care about is supporting everyone to step up in their own way so that you can actually write and become the author and the authority, which is the author of your own hero's journey and the way you experience it. So that's a little about, me in that sense.
Oh, that was so beautifully said, Mark. I'm so excited about these calls.
He's so poetic, isn't he?
Yes. Oh, we love you, Mark. Oh, so does anyone have any questions or anything that they want to say? This is just an evolution.
Yeah.
This is the beginning of something beautiful and exciting. It's not the end of anything.
No, not at all.
Okay. Well, if you do jump in,
Yeah.
with the last, well, we still have 20 minutes, but
Yeah.
we wanted to talk about quickly. Go ahead, Lisa.
I'm just excited because I really don't know how to work my Healy right, so this will be really helpful for me, and it's just like, the program, sometimes it kicks me off and then I can't get back on. And like today I played around with it and I got really, really frustrated with it because I don't think I knew what I was doing. And so I put it down and now I can't get back on, and it kicked me off again. So, and it won't let me connect with my phone. And I was just like, okay, it's one of those days. I'm just going to put it away for now. So, but this will be very helpful for me. So, and I want to learn more. So,
yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of new people, and we, in the beginning, we did a lot of these kind of beginner calls and questions and things like that, and then we kind of got a little away from that. And I think that's very important that we always have time for those questions, because that's super important. Because if you're getting frustrated and you don't know how to use it, then, what's the point in having it? And so, Lisa, reach out to me and we can have a conversation, because I don't ever want anyone to be hanging on anything. So I can help you get up and running again. So just reach out to,
Yeah,
with
your
troubleshooting.
yeah, your sponsor is going to be
Your reference
your
point.
reference point. They'll probably, if they can't help you directly, they'll, send you some information. These calls are great for that. So we can kind of point you in the right direction, but also we now have Tech Tip Tuesday, which is 8 p.m. every Tuesday night. And that's run by Ken Close. And so those are like great for, really, I've heard people ask all kinds of questions on there, but it's supposed to be, Healy related questions. So there's an abundance of resources out there for everyone.
Yeah.
We're going to be here consistently with Mark. We're going to be on the calls. We might take one Thursday off, since we haven't in a long time. But we're going to be here too, to learn and to support you guys. So
yeah. And also, when you have tech questions and things like that you can't answer, that you can't figure out, just put it in the Vibe Tribe Facebook group or Telegram group. And then once you're set up with, okay, this is, now I understand, or there's frequently asked questions, like we can guide you towards all these different things. But I don't want anyone suffering and not knowing what's going on. So we're here to support.
And shoot, I asked a question today in the Vibe Tribe Telegram group, and Beth Ann got right back to me like that. I was like, this is amazing.
Beth Ann, I love it.
Built our own best resource. So thank you, Beth Ann. And then I wanted to quickly talk about Mindful Mondays, something that Chris and I are finally implementing, which we're super
So
excited about. And this is the kind of stuff that we can be doing because, we've taken some of our energy back and we can focus on, our businesses. So we're doing something called Mindful Mondays. It was Microcurrent Mondays, but we've changed it to Mindful Mondays because we had our first one and it kind of evolved. And so this is an in-person thing. So, maybe someone could create a virtual thing, but if you are a in-person community, type of person like we are, then, but you're not here, Beth Ann, create your own, you use this as a template to create your own. So what we're doing is, Kirsten just shared the link, and every Monday we are having people, we have the zero gravity chairs here, and we're having people come in, and they're going to start with, we're going to hook them up to a Healy program. And then we're going to run a guided meditation.
Share the screen. I'm just excited because I just finished this. So I'm going to share the screen.
She's excited.
I just need you guys to see it.
Hold tight.
I just put it in the chat. But yeah, so this is just a great idea to get started for, we're going to do it here if you're local, but you guys can do this too, and you can use this as a template. So do you want to explain as we go?
Yeah. And, this is also what I'm going to be doing at just switching it up a little bit at the chiropractor's office that I work at. And, Kelly's going to be running these hopefully as well. So, but the ones that we're doing here, because the loft is a little bit more of a Zen vibe, we start with a guided meditation. And this week, because we planned it kind of last minute, we did one like pulled off of Insight Timer. It wasn't us running it.
Yeah.
So you can just pull one off of YouTube or something. So we did 20 minutes or 30-minute guided meditation, sitting in the zero gravity chairs.
We
If you
set it,
don't-
we set an intention first, which was really nice.
we did. We set
Mhm.
an intention first. And we really like doing it on Monday. We had a really
wa-
productive week.
Yeah, it was really
So it was a
good.
really good way to start the Monday. And if people don't have a Healy, it's $40. And if they do have a Healy, it's $20. But
And look at this incredibly beautiful woman.
Anna
Look at her. And she took this picture, which we love.
Dunning,
But she didn't even know she's being photographed, but it was like, yeah, Landenberg Loft, thank you, Healy. And look at this gorgeous, beautiful woman. She
and
looks,
that beautiful picture that Kristen took
yeah,
behind it.
yeah. So
Okay, so scroll back up because I want to
Okay.
go to,
Yeah.
okay, so we start with the microcurrent program. We hook everyone up, get them going, then we set the intention, then we do a guided meditation for 30 minutes. And then we didn't even know that this was going to be part of it, but it kind of just evolved. After the meditation, I made lattes, we make lattes. It's like, literally, I would be a barista if you didn't have to wake up at 4 a.m. Like that's what I would
we
do.
love.
I
our
love if
lattes.
people drink lattes at, between 12 and 4 p.m. That's what I would do for a job. I love doing
That's it. Before and after, forget it.
Yeah.
She's done.
I'm meditating by a creek in the morning. But anyway, so we make these lattes and then we just sit around and just
Talk.
connect.
Yeah.
And we pulled cards and it was just such a beautiful, we had the
And we have the energized, quantum energized water. So that, and then I did Vegas harmony because we were doing balanced nerves. So we kind of had a theme going, which was really cool. And then basically booking, the booking is $40 per visit. Or 20 if you have your own Healy. So it's kind of giving people an incentive if they start to like it, like, shoot, I could save half if I got my own Healy. And then just some important tips about really arriving on time, because once we get started, you can't just,
Right,
let
can't
people
open
in.
Mhm.
And drink at least 2 8-ounce glasses of water prior to arrival. And that it's this, because, just telling that microcurrent isn't recommended for pregnant women or people with a pacemaker or experience seizures, but they can substitute it for scalar energy, a frequency vibration safe for all. So just giving them options. So
So we're very excited about that. We had our first one and we only had one new person come, but it was amazing
Yeah.
for Kristen and I. We had like the
know.
best time. And so we're super excited. We hope if you're local, you guys will come, you'll bring people and then duplicate it. This is an amazing way to do what we all love to do, which is connect with community, help people, raise the vibe, pull cards, connect with
mhm.
the universe and our higher selves, and while building a business. And so we're super excited about it.
And then once someone has done a session, we give them a coupon for, you get
We do. We
buy
have
one, get one
coupons.
free if you bring a new friend. So it's all just a matter of we ultimately really want to share Healy with other people, and have them purchase their own. I mean, that's the end game. But if they don't want to do that, at least we are still making some money and helping people along the way and creating community. So it's a win-win. And even if you guys send people to us and you're not here, we'll just ask them, how did you hear about it? And then we can then send them back to you. We'll do the work for you. So that's just, I think, a great idea.
Right. And
Thanks, Beth Ann.
I remember before I knew what Healy was, and I was just getting into the spiritual world, I used to go to a class kind of like this, but it was just a guided meditation. Every Monday it was a guided meditation, and I met the most amazing people, some of which are in the Vibe Tribe, but I met them during that time. And it's just such an amazing way to start your week. So if it's at all a possibility for you guys to be here in person, please try it. And if you're not around, start one, because it's really awesome. And if you're not having fun, what's the point in doing it? And
Yeah.
we are having so much fun working together.
And what was the gene key that we were listening to today about simple, about keeping it simple?
Oh yeah, Mark,
she
you
said
sent
smart.
us that 7-day thing.
Yeah.
I'm loving
I
it.
know.
It was called
What-
Easy is Right.
Easy is right.
The right
Easy
is
is
easy.
right is easy. So it's like if it's
Right
right,
is
it's easy.
Easy is right.
Easy
It went
is right,
back
yeah,
both
whatever.
ways.
So it
We're
just-
rambling. Shut up,
yeah.
Anna. We're having a good time here. So lots of new beginnings happening right at the full moon almost.
Mhm.
And we just have a couple minutes left, Mark. So why don't you just tell us like little galactic weather report?
That's
if you have
awesome.
one.
Oh, I think the universe is always pulling them through.
Yeah.
It's actually super appropriate, super appropriate. So it kind of feels like a nice way to start closing out this call.
nice.
And first of all, that Eventbrite that you've done there is like, when I opened that up, that felt clean, professional, and just, yeah, like for my brain,
I didn't
that's-
do it. She did.
Wow. You
I'm
helped.
very happy with
Mhm.
that. And but that's fantastic, because that is also something that in these true resonance calls, something that we want to be providing as it's wanted and as it's invited is inspiration for how people can share. Because everyone thinks that, network marketing means you got to send private messages to every one of your loved ones, and that's how you make the money. And it's not.
No.
It's one way you can do it. And showing people and role modeling different ways to do it, I mean, that's fantastic. So one of the things I'd love to do is actually take your Eventbrite there or get you guys to share about, at some point in the true resonance, that'll be the 15-minute, instead of a product bit of information, it'll be 15 minutes looking at how can we share, and we'll get a couple of people that are doing interesting ways to jump on, to inspire people. So that's a great demonstration right there. Now the weather report, we are in the 13 days of the blue monkey wave spell. So this is a really powerful time. The Mayan dream spell basically clocks the evolution of consciousness. There's like a 260-day cycle that ebbs and flows through life, and we move, and as we revolve into the new ways of being. The first half of the 260-day, we call it a spin, and it's related to the binary Sirius star. So this is all connected to the Sirius energy. The first half of that 260 days, when you look at it, when you look at the different themes, it's about kind of refining the ego, breaking down the ego. There's some pretty challenging things. There's like the red serpent for, reactivating survival and getting grounded again, where the ego might have gotten carried away. There's the white mirror where you have to reflect and really polish your mirror and clean house kind of thing. The second half of that 260-day spin is, when you look at the themes, is more about rebuilding the ego, the character, who we're bringing to the world, making new decisions on how we're going to approach things. And it kind of just goes through this constant process. And this week we have gone from the center of the Tzolk'in. And by the way, 260 days, if you do your maths, is approximately close to the gestation cycle of a baby. So about 9 months, give or take. So it's where we're birthing something constantly into the world. So we've just gone into the second half now. So this is where it's really interesting watching all these energies starting to pull together and rebirth in a new way. So what was super cool is in America, because it kind of shifts with the sun, we're moving out of the red spectral monkey, which is basically the mother, the primal mother, the dragon energy that's here to actually guard its birth children into the world and be fiercely holding that. And so in a sense, what we're giving birth to is the magic of the new creation that we're building. And as a magician, if you think of a magician, when you watch a magic trick, and when a magician does a magic trick, unlike normal life, what makes it magic is it doesn't have all those steps in between saying what's going to happen and something happening. Right. So a magician says, I'm going to make this monkey disappear. Right. And Devon's our blue monkey in the crew here. So we're going to get Devon up on stage and make her disappear. Then, the actual job is, if you logically plan it, you have to kind of get her to move away and take steps and physically move out of, there's that logical way most of us think it has to happen, right? Whereas with a magician, they simply say and set the intent and convince you that they are going to make Devon the monkey disappear from their stage. They all they do is convince you so much that you're not paying attention anymore to the logical mind of how it's supposed to happen. You're actually going, what, really? No, that can't happen. And then suddenly it happens. The monkey's gone, right? And it's just, that's magic. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because, as you guys were saying, easy is right. That grace will carry us in a there is an easy path and a hard path in life. And we have become so left brain logical and obsessive with our anxieties and the rest of how we're going to get to where we're going. But what this blue monkey wave spell that we're in right now, these 13 days, and what we're in the process of surrendering into trusting today, that of what we're giving birth to, it's all we need to do is target what we want to achieve. Visualize the target, hold that target. And more importantly than anything, feel what it's like when you get to that target. And when you're holding that, then you become a magician, because life will magically synchronize around you. You won't see all those steps that the universe is coordinating. Those steps are happening in its own way. But, the universe is actually doing the work for you. And it's a reality. It's how that, with Chris and Ashley and myself, we both connected with these messages simultaneously, same day, with the exact same feeling of what needs to happen. The logical mind could have tried brute forcing that. But what we're in right now is evolving our ability to be magicians. So that's where we are in the wave spell. It's about really trusting, coming together, and sharing our visions together. And that's also something that in True Resonance we're very big on, is every now and then we will do a segment in those calls to help reconnect to our visions of what we're creating, to make sure that we're anchored there. So here we are giving birth to the new illusion, the new creative magic of what we're giving birth to over the next 6 months, what's half of 9 months, 4.5 months together.
Mhm.
So exciting.
Yeah.
And, Chris and I also just kind of had this new breath of life come into our business lately. And we're going into the busiest, time for people to shop and all that. And then, January is such an amazing time for people to get well. This is like kind of go time. So if you're at all serious about wanting to make a business out of helping people, we hope you join us on this journey, because we're ready and we're doing it.
Mhm.
So we hope you come with us. I mean, you're already here, but we hope you want to do it for yourself and your family and your communities too.
And we're here to help.
We're here to help.
Mhm.
So thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
It is that time of year, Devon. All right.
Yes.
Well, then it's 9:00. We're going to stick to the hour. We're going to, I guess Beth Ann
Beth Ann.
shared the Klarna thing that I was asking about. So thank you for doing that.
Okay. Cool.
But we're going to end here.
Yeah.
So next week, Mark, look for the link, and we'll start our first True Resonance call. Yay.
Exciting.
And if you're local, please join us on Monday.
Wish I was local.
And on those calls, remember, if you have any questions, because often people are a bit shy and they start asking questions in the last 10 minutes of the call, which is where we'd usually go. If any of you have anything at all when we do the next meetings and the calls, I love when the first person to jump in and ask or share, just to get the energy moving. So if anyone can support me in that with the group energy, because sometimes how it feels a bit stuck and then one person breaks it and then everyone starts coming. If we can do that straight off, if someone help me with that, that'd be fantastic. And that's what Ashley's job used to be.
At least
I always got questions.
Yeah, Ashley was always like, I'll say something. She never held back.
And also, as you said, November is historically with Healy is the biggest month. It gets pretty wild when you put the energy into it. So there is, and as Devon's saying as well, what we plan at the end of the year will grow next year. So 100% these next few months, if you've got anyone interested, anyone that, might be interested in this now, think of it as the second launch of Healy. The first launch was wild and crazy, Wild West. This is the second launch. We have systems, we have support. You know, I've got connections with all the senior leadership everywhere. So you got problems, we'll make sure they'll get taken care of as best we can. You know, so we're in the best situation we've ever been. And there's an opportunity now to actually step in and be part of the second wave and really establish yourself in there. And, you know, I'm literally been living off Healy for the last for a while, but for the last 3 months doing nothing except taking care of family, myself, my internal process with just a few calls here and there. And I was able to still pay my rent, food, everything. So once you build it up, set it up, you know, it is possible to have a very successful business with this. And there's nothing better than knowing that literally every dollar you're earning is somebody else that's got a Healy. And that's why we have the true resonance, to make sure that if you don't feel like you're able to give that person the answers they need, you can bring them into true resonance and we'll be able to help you make sure that happens. So you're not on your own struggling. So just as we go in, wanted to really reassure everyone that we'll be there for you. Awesome.
Amazing.
Oh, so happy.
And thank you guys for being here. Rita,
Yeah.
thank you for showing up at 2 a.m. We love you and we're excited to start this next chapter.
Yeah.
So have a great night, everyone, and a great
Yeah.
day to you, Mark.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mark.
Bye.
Bye.